Alright, gonna try showing another game here. This is one where my opponent did something weird. I actually tried to record it live, but I did not quite succeed because I lagged out of the game. First time I've lagged out of a game in a really long time. So we're just going to show it from my point of view. I'm doing my normal plan against Terran, which is to make hatchery first, then make Zerglings with speed, then transition into making a Hydralisk den for the mid game. And if we can survive through what they do, then the plan will be to get Broodlords or Ultralisks or both in the late game. So that's our first Overlord popping out after the one that you start with. Then there's going to be make enough drones to have 17 drones. Then send one down to make a hatchery down here. So this is a pretty big map. It's pretty standard other than the main bases have got a very large footprint, so there's a lot of space for someone to drop, so you kind of need to be careful and keep vision around the edges of your base. But it's a normal base setup where you have a ramp down to what's called your natural expansion, the first expansion you would normally take, with a little space that you could make a wall of buildings in to prevent opponents from running up. And then there's a couple options for third bases on this map. You can either go down the side of the map or kind of out more into the middle. It's generally better as Zerg to have your bases more spread out since you have the mobility advantage. Your army's fast, so you can get to the places. So I'm still completely in the dark as to what my opponent is doing. I only know that, you know, they frequently send out an early game unit, the Reaper, to come and harass the workers. The way I time things out makes it so that my Zerglings hatch just before it would arrive, and my Queens show up just shortly after it would arrive in my bases. I also have my spawning pool positioned wrong, actually, for this matchup. This is a Zerg versus Zerg place to put the spawning pool, because it makes the you can jam the Queen in this little space here, and it makes it so that Zerglings can't run by. But you want, when you're playing against the other races, you want to put it back behind your minerals to prevent them from running around with their units that shoot ranged attacks, so that they can't just run around your base. It blocks them so you can maybe corner them with your Zerglings. So I do nothing for a while except keep making drones, trying to keep a tab on what's going on with this first Overlord going out here. So those are my Zerglings that hatched before the Reaper would come in, but I'm not seeing the Reaper here, so maybe my opponent didn't make one in this matchup. So I see my Overlords over there, but I don't actually go over to check on what it saw yet. Okay, so a couple Marines, that's normal. It's a little bit odd that they don't have an expansion down here already, but not unheard of. Sometimes they build it up in their main base just so it's harder to bother with Zerglings, and then since Terran buildings can lift off, they lift it off and float it down to that base. It's unfortunate that I lost the Overlord. I'm not actually sure where the high ground is the Overlord supposed to hide on this map. Maybe it doesn't have one. Maybe that's one of the weird features of it. But I've looked at this thing so many times, I don't understand where I need to put my Overlord to keep it safe here. So that's something I really need to learn for this map. I should really be sending this Overlord that just hatched somewhere to look at things too. So I'm sending this other Overlord on the other side of my opponent's base to try to spot anything going on if I can.
Evolution complete.
That's Zergling speed finishing right there. Just making more drones and making more drones. Really know nothing about what my opponent is doing yet. So I see a whole bunch of Marines. I see a factory. I think, okay, this is likely to be a Marine drop. It's a common thing Terrans do in this matchup. That typically hits around 4.5 to 5 minutes, so I really should be making nothing but units right now, if I'm doing it properly. Well, I made some Overlords because I got supply blocked because my opponent keeps killing my Overlords. I do want to get the... I really need to get the armor upgrade right now. I can wait until I know I'm safe to get the attack upgrade. I don't know that I needed to build both of the evolution chambers there. Make a baneling nest. Am I building units? See, I'm doing this wrong. I would be very dead if my opponent did what I think is the standard thing for them to do. So I'm making the layer, which is to get the higher tech units, the Hydralisk. It also lets me get the speed upgrade for the banelings. I remember, oh yeah, this is the map with a really giant footprint in the main, so I start putting my Overlords around to spot incoming drops. They should be hitting within 10 seconds of now if they were actually coming with that. Put a few defensive structures up, also aimed at keeping medevacs, the dropships, out of my base.
A new queen has emerged.
Could really have used a couple more queens in this game to be connecting up creep. So I'm still looking, trying to see if my opponent's taking a third base. It typically lands at about 5 to 5.5 minutes if they are. So I see they didn't take the one up along the edge, but as a Terran they do sometimes take the one more in the middle because they have an easier time defending it. It's a little bit more central to where their production is. Okay, this is where things get really weird because my opponent just warped a battle cruiser across the map. This is a super late game unit. It has this ability called tactical jump where it can go anywhere on the map by even without vision. Well, it's like a warp jump thing, and it does it. It takes some time to do it, but it gets there, and then it has a really long cooldown before it can use the ability again. But I barely have any anti-air. Certainly not things that take battle cruisers. Battle cruisers also have a large amount of armor, so they're hard to deal with if you don't have the right set of units. I do have a Hydralisk Den, which is one step in the right direction, but then I see my opponent has got a second battle cruiser already. So this is just... I do not know what's going on in this game when I played this live. It was very strange. It's just like, what, there are suddenly now 2 battle cruisers around? This is a thing that happens like 15 minutes into the game, not 7 minutes into the game. So because I wasn't over there messing with my opponent, constantly seeing what they were doing, I let them just free get away with teching up super high tech. Probably had not a lot to defend this until the battle cruisers popped out. And then they just show up over here with these 2 battle cruisers. So make some Hydralisks. They are pretty effective against the battle cruiser because they do damage very quick. They attack very quickly. And the battle cruisers, while they fire a lot, they don't do a ton of damage per shot. They just get a lot of shots. So it still takes them a while to kill a Hydralisk, but it still takes more than 2 Hydralisks to get rid of a battle cruiser. It takes probably more like 7 or 8. So I dealt with the one up at the main base, but the one that was just took care of my third base is now trying to come to my natural expansion. I am just so confused as to what's going on in this game. I don't have the attack upgrade for the ranged attack either, because for Zerg your attack upgrade is either melee or ranged, and I got the melee one first because that's normally relevant when you're dealing with Marines that your opponents are much more likely to make in this matchup at this stage of the game. I said, well, I don't know what to do about the battle cruisers, but I'm going to go try to take out their bases because they can't have that much defense if they've already spent this much money on battle cruisers, right? Try to go over there, get hit by a mine because don't take detection with me like I really should. So now I'm going to try to go up the ramp and see what I can see. They got a siege tank. They got just the bare bones defense, but it's enough because I didn't send that many units over there because a lot of them fought the battle cruisers and didn't exactly win. There's already 2 more battle cruisers here too. At this point, I really should just back up, redrone, and maybe make a spire to get some anti-air because corruptors are what I really need here against battle cruisers. Since battle cruisers are massive, I want corruptors because they deal bonus damage to massive units. So I have a whole bunch of anti-air ground defenses on the ground there. I really don't know what I'm doing here with these. See, there's another mine that's going to probably hit all my banelings. Yep, pretty much. Don't even get to this tank, do I? Nope, not hardly. So at this point, I'm just very confused as to what has happened in this game. This is way out of the standard, out of the meta. It's not something you see people do. So I don't put enough thought into it in the game. I just am like, oh, keep making Zerglings and Hydralisks. And it's just... a Roach Warren? What is a Roach Warren going to do here? That's not a useful... not a building I should be building. I should be building a spire right now. But just my opponent really threw me off my game with doing a very unexpected strategy. I really just need to be making more drones and making a spire right now, but I'm so confused as to what's going on. I just kind of freeze up. I am making the more drones, but I'm still making hydralisks for some reason. Taking a third again is fine, but it's really exposed with the battle cruisers being able to just jump anywhere. I guess everywhere is exposed. I think ideally I would have a few more queens as well. So this whole time I'm just not sure really what's going on. Okay, I've seen all these battle cruisers. Now would be the time in the matchup, around 11 minutes would be the earliest I would ever expect to have seen them. And that would be, I would still say, super early battle cruisers. They're a late game unit that you get when the game is going really long. So it's just very weird to see them so quickly. So I have taken both watchtowers here. That's good, so I can try to keep tabs on what's going on. That still leaves a lot of blind space on the map that I could try to take overlords too, but the battle cruisers will easily just get rid of them even if I did send them out. Still probably should have them at many of the bases to be checking on stuff. Also, the attack path in the very center of the map is not covered by the watchtowers, but you have to knock down both sets of rocks here to actually open that up. I guess you only have to knock down the rocks on your side to get to your enemy's bases relatively easily. So opponent sees I've taken the base again with their scan here. Sees that I have not tried to take the other base over there.
Mineral field depleted.
And then makes their decision as to what they're going to do. Which I think is come and win the game.
Complete.
You're engaging the opponent.
Still making the hydralisks. How much better would this be if those were some corruptors?
Our forces are under attack.
Okay, so there is my opponent's third base, of course. Oh, they even have planetary fortress there, so it's hard to take out. Wouldn't be a problem if I had gone to corruptors, because they eventually can morph into broodlords, which produce free units for you, so you can fight planetary fortresses and defensive positions with those. But my main base is completely out of minerals. My natural there is getting mostly out of them. My third base is really the only place I have a lot of resources left. So I have decided I'm going to go open up the attack path to my opponent here in the middle of the map. Get over here. Yeah, great. Get my Zergling shelled from the tank that I know is there. I should really be putting my Overlord out there first so I can see what's going on. Like this. Oh hey, it's a Thor and some battle cruisers and still the mine. So I don't have the proper forces to beat all this stuff. But it's just, there's a whole bunch of battle cruisers out. I don't have the right tech to deal with it. And I actually ended up lagging out there, but I don't think I could have won that game anyway because I was making such poor decisions. I needed to have a Spire like 6 minutes ago, more bases. My opponent wasn't actually moving out to attack me, it doesn't look like. So maybe it would have been okay to just hang out for a little bit more time. Oh, see, here's another late game unit, the Liberator, that they could use to sort of leapfrog forward, siege all the ground units I was making. This one was just really, really weird.